Hi, my name is Josh Gottry. Welcome to today's weekly lesson. Today I'm going to pose a question that was asked to me by a student and then give you a quick synopsis of my answer and maybe a quick demonstration of kind of the concept I'm talking about. A student approached me and said, hey, I'm preparing for this audition. In this case it was for a church worship team, but any audition might apply, whether it's a all-state jazz band or a school band or a rock band that your friends are putting together and they're trying to figure out who the drummer is going to be, whatever the case may be, a drum set audition. And the student was preparing for the audition. He said, what should I really focus on? Because there's not a set collection of pieces I'm supposed to have ready or styles or anything. So what should be my focus and how should I best prepare for this audition? And in addition to knowing the literature that might be involved, if it's a jazz band audition, knowing some basic heads and tunes that are kind of standards in the jazz world, of course that's a good idea. In this case, the student should know some of the tunes that praise band or worship band for church does, and be familiar with those styles. The best thing that you can do, and what I told the student to focus on, is be prepared, whatever style you're going to play, to create a real nice sense of time and a real clear pocket or groove for the band to work with. As drummers, we have a few very specific roles, and we need to focus on those above all else. Number one is to keep great time. Obviously, a drummer who doesn't keep very good time is not very much use to the band. It provides more of a disservice to the group, makes things more difficult for the other members as opposed to making it easier. The drummer really needs to keep great time, okay? And that's, of course, where something like this comes in handy, having your metronome ready, using it, whether it be a standalone metronome or an app on your phone or whatever the case may be. You need to play with a metronome regularly to make sure you have great time. And then that sense of groove or that pocket that needs to be there, that can really only be developed one way, and that is playing any groove you're playing over and over and over again with a metronome or with a track to make sure you really feel like the limbs all work together, that the timing is very, very precise and very comfortable. Nobody wants a drummer that's stiff or awkward or trying to make the limbs do what they're supposed to do. It needs to feel good. And it's amazing how much of a difference that makes for a band. If they have a drummer that feels like this is just, hey, here's the groove, I'm going to lay it down, make it nice and easy for you, it's a lot easier for those band members to play and feel comfortable and feel like they can do their part and not worry about what the drummer is doing. So let's say, for example, it's an audition that's going to involve a rock beat, a swing beat, and a bossa nova, let's say for a standard school jazz band or something like that. Okay, so first of all, what's the role of a rock beat? Well, the bass drum and snare drum, those are the prominent roles on the drum set. We need to make those nice and strong, keep the hi-hat nice and light, and make everything line up with those hi-hat eighth notes. Maybe put a little pulse on those eighth notes to feel the groove there. So here's our nice little pulse here. We want to just play the same groove, good 2-3 minutes. Make it feel really comfortable, all the limbs working together. And then you say, well, what about the fills? What about the solos? Hey, that's great and all. It's important to be able to play some fills, but if you can't play fills and you can play great time, you're a service to the band. If you can play great fills and you can't play great time, you are not going to get the gig, because the band can't depend on you when it needs you to be that anchor, that foundation for time and feel. Okay, so yes, work on fills. Yes, fills are important, and yes, fills are a lot of fun. Okay, but if they aren't played in the context of great time, it's not going to do the band as much service, and that's your primary objective. Okay, so you play a rock beat. Okay, now we're going to play a swing beat. For the swing beat, ride cymbal and hi-hat have the prominent roles. They're going to be stronger, so we want to keep that nice and big. Ride cymbal pattern here, the swing pattern here on the ride cymbal, hi-hat on 2 and 4. If you add the bass drum, can you add the bass drum very lightly, just underneath that? And maybe you want to work on your left hand comping, but just to get started, add a cross stick on 4. Without the bass drum, or maybe just the bass drum on 1, still lightly. Make sure you can do that, again, minutes at a time, with a metronome or with a good swing track to really make sure you get that emphasis on 2 and 4 on the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. The bass drum and snare drum understated. Maybe you can work on a couple simple comping patterns for the snare drum, maybe 2 in the end of 3. Again, the fanciness of what you're doing is not near as important as being able to keep great time. A jazz band can coexist if the drummer can play these 2 parts really, really well, and then, gradually build in the rest of it. So keeping great time in that context. Okay, and then let's say it's a bossa nova is the last thing you're expected to do. Okay, make sure you know your styles, obviously. And then for the bossa nova, keep it nice and balanced, nice and everything working together. We got 8th notes over here, the boom, chicka-gom with the feet, and then our nice little bossa nova clave pattern on the cross stick. Okay, and so again, just you being able to do that with a metronome or with a click or with a track and being able to keep it really, really smooth. If you're not sure where to find a bossa nova track, Antonio Carlos Jobim, look it up and play along with some of those tracks. Great way to really get familiar with what a bossa nova should sound like. Okay, but coming back to my main point, if you can't keep great time, it's going to be a problem. You've got to work with your metronome, you've got to work with clicks, you've got to work with tracks to make sure you're keeping great time. Number 2, you've got to know your styles and be able to play them on command at any tempo, being really comfortable with those. And then third thing, and most importantly, be able to play those for an extended period of time with a great feel. Really not worrying about what's doing what and making sure it's easily aligned and comfortable. Certainly, if you can have a conversation with somebody by playing one of these styles, you know it well enough to audition on. If not, if you're really focusing on it, probably it's not quite comfortable enough. Okay, so make sure you do these styles enough to be rock solid with the groove, enough that you could be thinking or concentrating or doing something else while maintaining that groove, even so much as having a nice pleasant conversation with somebody as you play these grooves in time. So it's going to take a lot of repetition, a lot of practice to get comfortable with those, but that really makes you stand out in an audition. Have a great week.